Hello everyone! Tonight we're stepping into the heavy boots of a medieval knight. Not the fairy tale version, but the dusty, sweaty, armor-scratched reality. Imagine a letter sealed in wax, brick-thick and equally ominous. It smells faintly of beeswax and anxiety. Your name is scrawled across it in dramatic scrawl, as if the pen had been dipped in pride and a little too much wine. Inside, a summons to the Western Province's Formula One Grand Prix. Congratulations, you've just volunteered to risk your life for this sport. You're probably not going to survive this. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually like what I'm doing here. And hey, let me know in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it? Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for a gentle hum, and let's begin tonight. The letter was more than just ink and parchment. It was an unspoken invitation, both an honor and a duty. Tournaments were not optional when you held land, lineage, or the misfortune of being the second son of a noble line. No response was required. You had to show up, or you would be branded a coward and your name would become the village's favorite joke for at least a generation. You clutched the letter in your clean hands, now stained with future regret. Your heart pounded in a rhythm that indicated your body was ready for the tournament. You glanced at the rack of armor in the corner of the room. It had been gathering dust since you'd last sworn. Never again. That was 2 tournaments ago. Preparing for the tournament means you have to rearrange your life for the next few weeks. Your servants are busy as if war has broken out, and, in a sense, it has. Your horse, Fergus, looks at you with a look that says, "Really?" Again, because even animals know what's coming. He was there the last time your spear snapped in 2 and you fell into the goose pond. At first glance, there's nothing romantic about it. The tournament is more than just games and fun. It's a stage for alliances, quiet power struggles, and displays of wealth without public display. In short, politics in disguise. Tournaments came into vogue around the 12th century, evolving from actual military training into an elaborate combination of war games and social theater. Back then, knights needed a place to swing their swords in peacetime, so why not turn it into a party? Some historians still debate whether these early tournaments were more about practice or show, but everyone agrees they were definitely about the art of performance. You glance back at the invitation, noticing the list of other nobles invited. The names reek of old grudges and petty rivalries. And there, in a gentle curve, is the Duke's seal, of course. The same Duke whose nephew accused you of cheating 2 summers ago. This is going to be fun. You start making a list. Not a list of equipment, a list of apologies you'll have to pretend to accept. You'll need to brush up on both your manners and your sword. Because this isn't just a tournament, it's a royal gathering with people who could stab you in the back, on or off the field. As you look out the narrow window of the stone mansion, clouds rumble overhead. Not storm clouds, just very severe weather, which seems appropriate. You pull your cloak tighter and mumble something that might be a prayer, a curse, or both. The next morning, your entire household is ready for mobilization. The blacksmith heats the forge, the squire sharpens your spear, and the tailor starts measuring you again, he says. You've put on weight. You say it's tactical muscle. To your surprise, your chef starts experimenting with portable stew recipes because nothing says chivalry like a holy beef sack on the battlefield. You see a neighbor riding out, probably on his way to the tournament. You nod politely as he passes. He nods back with the stiff grace of someone who has already imagined his victory. You consider asking him if last year, when he fell while trying to bow on horseback, he did, but you decide to let history rest, for now. The road to the tournament is long and winding, filled with hopefuls, spectators, merchants, and other dreamers. After all, you're not the only one summoned. This is a gathering of every knight with a horse, a title, and enough ego to risk a concussion for applause. You pass a bard composing a ballad that's surely hyperbolic about a knight who slays 7 dragons and kisses 10 maidens. You resist the urge to point out that dragons don't exist and that kissing 10 maidens sounds like an impending impulse. That night, camped near the edge of the arena, you gaze up at the stars. They seem indifferent to your tension. Somewhere, a lute hums softly. Someone laughs too loudly, and a noble regrets his choice of traveling boots. You close your eyes, your armor creaking softly as you shift on your straw mattress. Tomorrow, The games begin tomorrow. You will be more than just a knight. You will be entertainment. And hopefully, not a laughingstock. Dawn breaks and training begins. Not the kind of training that makes you feel brave and heroic, the kind that turns joints into rusty hinges and pride into soup. You wake with a backache from a straw mattress and a crooked neck that no father's bloodline can cure. The sun hasn't even crept up behind the trees. But your guard, cheerful as a woodpecker over an espresso, has already pulled you out of the tent. Your armor lies piled like a battered wagon. You eye it suspiciously. It's supposed to protect you, but it seems to have a vendetta of its own. You step into your chainmail leggings as gracefully as someone climbing into a wet hammock. Every strap digs into places you didn't know held tension. The training ground is a cacophony of grunts, clanks, and creative curses. Knights from all over stumble into the warm-up, swinging heavy staves, dodging wooden dummies, and trying not to trip over their own sabatons. It's a symphony of ambition clashing with imbalance. You start with the basics, balancing on horseback. Fergus, your faithful horse, is unimpressed. You try to look majestic as you canter around in circles, but he knows the truth that you're one unexpected bee sting away from being sold. Your instructor is a former champion named Sir Bartholomew the Blunt. His title refers not only to his swordplay but also to his lack of social grace. "Hold your spear like bread," he shouts from across the field. "Unless you want to roast your opponent, keep your wrist straight." You're offended, but he's right. And the last person to argue with him is still limping. You need to move on to sparring exercises, trading slow blows with a sparring partner while trying to recall the steps you vaguely remember from page 27 of an ancient book. Your shoulder guards keep slipping off, your helmet fogs up, and your gloves keep falling off at the worst possible moment. Nothing says hero of the realm more than apologizing in the middle of a fight for punching someone in the windshield with your pinky. A knight suddenly collapses after only 10 minutes of sparring. He insists he's fine. He just imagined it. Another knight throws up after drinking a barrel of wine and claims he's purging himself of weakness. A third knight walks away, muttering, "Actually, I'm more of a poet." You glance at the wooden jousting dummy, a terrifying figure with a spinning arm and a shield strapped to its chest. It's your turn. You grip the spear tightly, urging Fergus forward and attack. You aim with perfect accuracy until the spear breaks. The dummy's arm spins, and you are struck in the side by what looks like the wrath of God in the form of a club. You land with a resounding thud. Fergus sighs. Somewhere, a blacksmith grimaces. Sir Bartholomew helps you up. "A little off," he says. "Try again." You try again, and again, and again. Finally, you land a solid blow. Spear hits shield, dummy spins, and for a brief moment, you feel like you belong. By that afternoon, you're herded into melee practice. Imagine organized chaos squads of knights charging at each other with blunt weapons and overzealous enthusiasm. You team up with a knight named Geoffrey, whose helmet is a little too big for his head and whose tactic is to shout and hope for the best. Geoffrey charges into battle like a man possessed. You chase after him, swinging a sword heavier than your childhood regrets. You block, dodge, and at one point, accidentally shoot your comrade. He forgives you, maybe because he can't see straight. Coaches blow their whistles, rearrange the formation, and shout incomprehensible corrections. Someone's chainmail is torn. Another knight loses a shoe. A squire chases a runaway horse with the desperation of a man chasing his future. By sunset, you have dozens of bruises, a sprained thumb, and a deep, existential question: is it all worth it? But then you look around. There's a rhythm to the madness, a comradeship in the bruises. These knights, noble and ridiculous as they are, understood something that modern people sometimes forget. Effort doesn't always look glamorous. It often looks like a man in too tight armor trying to do push-ups on gravel. Historians still debate whether medieval tournament training was actually functional preparation or just a prelude to showmanship. Some say it was necessary to keep knights ready for battle. Others believe it was a showy ritual, an elaborate display of muscles. Either way, it leaves you sore in the same places. That night, you soak in a wooden tub, the water now lukewarm, scented with lavender and regret. You relive the day's stumbles and small victories, the feel of the lance in your hand, the beat of the horse's hooves under your feet. You're not perfect, but you're better than yesterday. You've just fallen asleep on a bed of soft blankets, your armor discarded like the tired skin beside you. Tomorrow, the tailor will come, and that's a whole different war. Morning comes too early, as it often does when you feel like a bruised apple in a sack of chains. You stretch, or try to stretch, and your shoulders crack like castle gate hinges. But today there are no bruises or blisters. Today your opponent is not a knight with a sword in his hand, but a tailor with many opinions. He arrives with a cart so full of fabrics, trims, and measurements that it looks like a peddler meeting a carnival float. He introduces himself as Master Elric and bows deftly. His assistants follow, their arms full of velvet, fur, and other materials that are sure to make you sweat like a secret confessional. Elric doesn't ask what you want. He tells you what you need. Of course, you will wear the house colors, he said, unrolling a roll of cloth that was the exact shade of the enviable forest. But we must accentuate your figure, not hide it behind an old-fashioned cloak like some backwoods baron. You muttered that you were more concerned with protection than fashion. Elric sighed dramatically, waving his hand. What's the point of surviving if you look like you're being forgotten? And so the battle of trying on armor began. First, the lining. The padding was so thickly quilted that you began to feel like a very noble piece of lasagna. Then, the shins, the gloves, the breastplate, and finally the helmet designed to fit your noble forehead but somehow still hurt your ears. Each piece was donned, adjusted, repositioned, removed, and put on again. Elric hovers over you like a hawk, pulling at seams, adjusting angles, muttering about symmetry and the boldness of certain necklines. You stand still, arms outstretched like an off-balance scarecrow, as he debates whether your butt covering should be assertive or sexy. You don't know what that means. You don't want to know anymore. Across the training grounds, other knights go through the same ritual. It's like watching a fashion show for armored gents. Capes flutter, feathers flutter, and crests are embroidered so intricately that you wonder if one of these men is planning a fight or a wedding. Helmets, of course, are your crowning glory and your obsession. Some are crowned high enough to stop any arrow within a 5-mile radius. Yours is modest, shaped like a diving hawk, with wings carved on the sides. Elric says it represents precision and freedom. You think it mostly weighs down your head. By midday, you're fully dressed and sweaty and a little dizzy. You test yourself with a few lunges, only to find that the clanging of your armor is loud enough to serve as your own personal trumpet. Elric clapped his hands in delight. Perfect, you'll blind them with your light before they can even raise their swords. Bah, that's not pleasant. You don't want to blind anyone, you want to survive. Of course, armor is more than fashion, it's function, history, and often a family crest. Your breastplate bears your crest, a silver boar on a midnight battlefield. To your ancestors, it symbolizes ferocity. To your cousin, it looks like a pig late for dinner. Historians still debate the true role of battle armor. Was it actual protection or symbolic attire? Some scholars argue that it evolved into its own category, lighter, flashier, more brilliant than battle armor. Others insist that beneath all the frills, the steel is real. Either way, the padding is real, the weight is tiring, and the sweat very, very obvious. You step outside, the sunlight reflecting off your breastplate like a holy spotlight. Other knights stop to inspect your outfit. Some nod in approval, others scoff. One mutters, "Too hairy, not fierce enough." You ignore him. You'll see him again on the battlefield soon. Elric, meanwhile, fiddles with your cloak, smoothing out invisible wrinkles and humming a tune that sounds strangely like courtly gossip. Remember, he says, fashion is war without bruises. You want to tell him that in your experience, you both have bruises. That night, you attend the pre-tournament banquet, a room full of armored soldiers trying to eat stew with their pinkies outstretched and their elbows tucked in. The clink of metal on ceramic echoes with each bite. At least 3 helmets fall off during the soup. One falls into the cup. You catch a glimpse of yourself reflected on a polished tray, not just a knight, but a caricature of a knight. Shiny, noble, slightly ridiculous. You adjust your falcon helmet and pretend it looks natural. Then you retreat to your tent, shedding each layer of armor as if shedding your identity. Beneath the steel and the emblem, you are still just you, tired, hopeful, and vaguely afraid of what tomorrow will bring. Your armor lies neatly beside you, gleaming even in the moonlight. It whispers tales of past tournaments, victories, and humiliations. You run your hand over the engraved badge, wondering how much of it is tradition and how much is just peer pressure. You fall asleep, thinking not of the victory, but of the friction, because no one ever warned you about the friction. The trumpets sound before the sun has even rubbed its eyes awake. You wake with a start in your tent, your heart pounding in your chest as if it's trying to escape through the armor you forgot to take off completely. Outside, horses' hooves pound, banners flap in the wind, and guards hurry by, shouting unfinished phrases like, "Sir Edric needs more feathers," and "Where's the goat?" You look out at the chaos, and there it is, a grand procession forming, a glittering metal carousel, well-fed horses, velvet capes, and egos so inflated you're surprised they fit beneath their armor. This is the opening parade, the most dramatic moment of the tournament. And you, the 42nd noble entrant, are expected to look heroic, composed, and hopefully upright. Fergus is saddled, his mane braided with ribbons, by a stable boy who dreams of becoming a minstrel and insists that humming will give the horse courage. You're not sure if Fergus agrees, but he doesn't flinch, which is all you can hope for. You mount your horse, trying to do it with the composure of a seasoned warrior rather than the panicked shaking of someone sitting on a refrigerator, carrying 20 kilos of metal. Your visor suddenly falls off, and you're galloping blindly. A squire rushes to your side to hold it up, looking slightly traumatized. The parade route winds through the fairgrounds, where peasants and nobles gather to watch their warriors roll past like gilded meatballs. Children point, bakers throw bread. A few maids waved embroidered handkerchiefs with the desperate energy of someone trying to attract the attention of a man about to stab another man in the throat. You passed under the central arch, carved with the faces of saints and vaguely frustrated lions. The trumpet sounded again, louder this time, and the herald of ceremonies stepped forward in a costume that seemed to be made entirely of peacock feathers. He called out the names of each knight with dramatic theatricality. The ruthless Baldwin, slayer of rebellious goats. The Iron Lady Isadora, who once head-butted a bishop. Your Excellency with a glorious helmet and countless victories. The last one was you. You raised your spear and nodded slightly, pretending not to hear someone in the crowd shout, "Didn't he fall last year?" The Duke sits in a large tent, flanked by bored-looking advisors and a daughter whose eyes could melt butter or curdle wine. Her name is Lady Celestria. She stares at you for half a second. You almost fall off your horse. Around you, other knights pose. Some wave their arms majestically. Others make small gestures with their reins or bows, almost like a dangerous interpretive dance. One particularly daring fellow removes his helmet, revealing perfect curls, and winks so vigorously that you blush. Your armor creaks in response. Fergus wags his tail with the weary patience of a creature that has seen too much vanity. Despite the pomp, you can feel it, the quiet tension beneath the laughter and applause. This is no show. These men and women will soon be trying to take each other down next week. Every handshake hides a strategy. Every smile is worth points. You see Sir Osric of Fenmere, last year's champion, glaring from beneath his snarling boar helmet. Two of his attendants are polishing his shins even as he mounts. His eyes meet yours for a moment, and you swear he growls. Historians still debate the purpose of such parades. Some say they were meant to humanize the warriors, flaunt their noble status, and allow the public to cheer for their favorites. Others say they were meant to intimidate opponents and inflate egos before the actual fighting began. You think they mostly just delayed the inevitable bruises. When the parade ended, the knights filed into the holding area near the arena. The atmosphere suddenly changed, the music faded, the crowd fell silent, and the first tourney began. You wouldn't wake up until tomorrow. Today, you watch. You sit down next to Geoffrey, the excitable knight from close combat training, who is currently trying to eat through his visor. He offers you a piece of dried pear, which you take out of politeness and immediately regret. The first gladiators trot out. Their armor glints like silverfish. Spears come down. The charge begins. And then crash. The crowd erupts as a rider falls from his horse, the crunch echoing through your chest. He rolls, stumbles, and gives you a thumbs up to signal that he's alive. The nurses cheer louder than the audience. You watch a few matches. Some are neat, fast, elegant. Others are chaotic, spears broken, helmets misshapen, and in one memorable instance, a horse simply refuses to participate and trots out of the arena in protest. You're somewhere between awe and fear. This is your future. Tomorrow, you'll be out there, charging toward another armored rocket standing on its feet. But for now, you let today's energy swirl around you, trumpets, cheers, and the occasional chicken leg flying from the snack tent. You return to the tent at dusk, parade dust still clinging to your cloak. Fergus nibbles quietly on his food. The squire snores in the corner, face down on a loaf of bread. You take off your breastplate and stretch. Tomorrow it's your turn, and you'll either fly or fall. The air tastes like metal and morning dew. You stand in the corridor behind the arena, fully armored and painfully aware of your own breath. It echoes inside your helmet like a nervous wind trapped in a can of soup. Outside, the crowd buzzes with excitement. Vendors hawk spiced apples and fried turnips. Children wave wooden swords, and somewhere, a lute player strums what sounds like your hasty funeral music. Your name is called... Hawkhat, prepare your horse. You mount Fergus with the slow dignity of a man pretending his thighs aren't burned. Your valet double-checks every strap, every buckle, tugs at your knee guards like a frantic tailor. Good luck, he whispers, though it sounds more like, don't die. You push Fergus forward into the arena. The crowd cheers. This is your first official match of the tournament. Your opponent waits at the end of the field, a knight named Sir Cedric of Alderholt, a man whose armor is polished to the point of arrogance, and who is said to have won a duel because his opponent was too distracted by his perfect teeth. The two nod solemnly, as if neither is about to turn the other into a dart. A herald steps forward, his voice booming over the din. For glory, for honor, and for the amusement of our bored nobility, let the tourney begin. You grip your lance, lower it, aim at the shield. The wood between you and Cedric fades. Fergus charges. Cedric does the same. There is a moment, just before impact, when time seems to stretch. The clanking fades. The crowd dissipates. It's just you, a galloping horse, a wooden staff, and the very real possibility of an unexpected encounter with a doctor. Crack! Your spear shatters on Cedric's shield. His spear grazes your left shoulder and flies through the air like an insult to a noble party. The crowd erupts. You're still on horseback. Victory. But jousting is 2 out of 3. Round 2 begins. This time, Cedric lands a punch that lands squarely on your breastplate. It knocks you out of breath, but you still cling to Fergus like a barnacle. You return the favor in round 3 with a punch so solid it knocks Cedric back a half inch. That's enough. After a roar of applause, the judges declare you the winner. You take off your helmet in a graceful motion that sounds practiced but is really just relief. The crowd applauds. Someone throws a flower. It hits your visor. As you leave the field, Jeffrey meets you at the edge, clapping you on the back. Did you see my second punch? It was like watching a cathedral collapse, magnificent and a little scary. You thank him, though your lungs are too busy recovering to say anything more. You spend the next hour in the healing tent, drinking vinegar-flavored tonics and letting a doctor poke your ribs with a stick that's supposed to detect bruises. You'll survive, she declares, the medieval version of a gold star. Back at camp, you polish your armor with the look of someone clinging to habit. Fergus munches lazily beside you, unaware that he's just carried you through something far more dangerous than tax season in a corrupt kingdom. Historians still debate how dangerous the jousts actually were. Some say the spears were blunt and the injuries were staged theatrically. Others point to accounts of broken necks, broken ribs, and one unlucky baron who swallowed his own tooth. It is certain that behind every polished helmet lies a man praying that he will not be remembered as the one who turns upside down like a cake. That evening, you are summoned to Lady Celestria's pavilion. This is unexpected. You are led into a tent that smells faintly of rosewater and barely concealed judgment. She sits on a cushioned throne, surrounded by ladies-in-waiting who pretend not to eavesdrop. Good riding today, she says, studying you like a hawk inspecting a nervous rabbit. Thank you, my lady, you reply, bowing stiffly. Your armor creaks in protest. Some say skill, some say luck. I say, an interesting mix. She smiles. It is both alluring and terrifying. She gives you a token, a small strip of blue silk. For tomorrow, she says, if you survive. You're not sure if she's flirting or swearing outright, but you nod and accept the ribbon and walk out of the tent with the grace of a man aware he's still covered in mud. Later, as you sit under the stars, ribbon in hand, you think about the strange tournaments, part survival, part drama, part casual romance. Tomorrow will be melee, a full-on group battle. No spears, no horses, just swords, chaos, and whoever's still standing at the end. You stare into the fire, your mind buzzing with exhaustion, anticipation, and the distant sound of trumpets. Because this is only the beginning. The melee was not elegant. It was not chivalrous, or courteous, or poetic. Melee was what happened when you gave 24 armored nobles wooden weapons and pointed them at each other with vague instructions like the last man standing wins. You lined up in the middle of the courtyard at dawn, surrounded by knights who looked more like kitchen utensils than people. The rising sun reflected off their helmets and armor, turning the entire formation into a dazzling and clanging mass of ambition. Sir Bartholomew stood nearby, inspecting his squad, which consisted of you, Geoffrey, who was swinging 2 wooden clubs, a knight who claimed to be a pacifist but had joined for the heart, and a man named Reginald who seemed to be wearing 2 pieces of armor on his left leg. Across from you stood Sir Osric, tall and silent. His squad looked intimidating. No one was smiling. One of them was growling. Another is sharpening his fake sword, which defeats the purpose. A trumpet sounds, a flag falls, the melee begins. And chaos erupts. A jumble of swinging arms, splintering wood, and muffled screams inside helmets. You charge forward with Geoffrey at your side, shouting something heroic that is drowned out by the clang of metal. You swing your sword at a red knight who ducks just in time to strike Reginald. Reginald apologizes as he falls. You apologize too. It's all very polite for a brawl. There's no team now, not really. The melee is a jumble of egos and nudges. You lose your balance. Someone steps on your cloak, your helmet swerves to one side, and you're suddenly blind. A hand grabs your arm. It's Geoffrey, laughing like a madman. You're not dead? That's step 1. You regroup. Your sword is gone. You pick up the fallen one, half-sized and bent, but still usable. You dodge one swing, dodge another, and then miraculously land a clean blow on a knight's shoulder. He staggers and raises his hands in surrender, a knockout blow. The crowd roars. You catch a glimpse of Lady Celestria watching from the stands, sipping something cold and looking thoroughly amused. You take a deep breath, then something or someone hits your back and you fall hard. The world turns to stone, knees and a mouthful of dirt. You roll, just in time to avoid a slash to the side. You swing your sword up, catching your attacker by surprise. It's the snarler from before. He growls. You elbow him in the gut. He groans and falls. You stand again, panting, your armor heavy, your vision blurry. Nearby, Geoffrey is gallantly pursuing a man who clearly does not want to be pursued. Sir Osric rides past you like a fleeing siege tower, toppling 2 knights with a single swing. You wisely choose not to engage him, but still. Historians debate the purpose of the melee. Some say it was a real training ground, a chaotic simulation of real battlefield conditions. Others say that over time it has morphed into a chaotic game with little practical value. What is not debated, it is dangerous, ridiculous, and strangely addictive. You continue forward. Eventually, only a few warriors remain. You, Osric, Geoffrey, the Wonder, and a knight named Mirabelle, who has been silently dispatching everyone she meets with astonishing precision. You confront Osric. The battlefield falls silent, like the final boss fight in a medieval video game. He swings, you block. He pushes, you back. He lunges, you sidestep. You swing a blow that grazes his thigh. He growls but doesn't stop. His sword is aimed at your head, and you duck just in time to hear the sound of steel cutting through the air. Then you see it, an opportunity. You feint to the left, Osric bites. You spin and deliver a clean blow to his back. He staggers, drops to one knee. You back up, waiting. He raises his hand. Surrender. The crowd erupts. Mirabelle salutes you with her blade and walks away, her armor gleaming in the sun as if she's just had a late breakfast, not a duel. You suddenly drop to one knee, not because of the drama, but because your legs have decided to rebel. Geoffrey staggers forward. We survived. I think that counts as a miracle. You laugh, or something like it. It comes out as a wheeze. Later, in the doctor's tent, a woman with the gentlest hands and the coldest compresses insistently adjusts your shoulder. You're unconscious for 3 seconds. She counts it a successful adjustment. You're bandaged, cleaned, and given a honeyed oatmeal cake that tastes both heavenly and gravelly. That night, the Duke holds a banquet in honor of the finalists. You, Geoffrey, Mirabelle, and Sir Osric, now a little sissy but still fearsome, sit near the dais. The food is lavish, the wine flows, and the nobles feign concern for your bruises while they sneak a peek at Lady Celestria's latest embroidery. She glanced at you once, smiling. You weren't sure if it was approval or amusement, maybe both. Your fingers were still tingling from the sword, your back was sore, but you had survived the melee. And now, all that remained was the final battle. Morning comes in an ominous silence. No trumpets, no shouts from the guards, just the soft clank of polished armor and the soft snorts of horses adjusting their harnesses. Even the air feels heavier, as if the sky is holding its breath in anticipation of the final showdown. Of course, you wake up sore. Every inch of your body protests, your left knee aches like a little woods witch has cursed it, and your shoulder still cracks whenever you move too quickly. But none of that matters now. Here it is, the final showdown. The arena is being cleared. The leaning wooden fence has been repaired after someone knocked it over in the melee, and the flags are now perfectly raised, catching the morning breeze like silken sails. You watch from your tent as the crowd gathers. The audience today is not just nobles and local people. Ambassadors from neighboring kingdoms have come. Even the bishop is here, looking judgmental and slightly drunk. Your opponent, Sir Osric. Yes, again. The man recovers quickly. He stands at the back of the arena, mounted, his armor gleaming, his expression unreadable under his scowling boar visor. His horse looks equally fierce. You dress in silence. Tailor Elric tries to fluff up your cloak. You wave to him. He looks at you with a hurt expression and adjusts your gloves. Fergus seems unusually calm today, almost noble, as if he knows. You hand him a piece of apple and whisper, "Don't die, okay?" He turns up his nose in agreement. You ride into the arena slowly, cautiously. The crowd cheers. Though it's quieter than before, this is no longer a parade. This is judgment. Lady Celestria sits on the edge of the royal bench. She's dressed in green today, matching the ribbons at her waist. You don't look at her for long. You can't afford to be distracted. Trumpets sound. A herald steps forward, arms outstretched. The final battle of the games. 2 knights remain, 2 champions, 1 victor. Silence falls. You and Osric face each other, spears raised, shields gleaming with family crests, his a crimson boar. Yours the silver beast of your lineage. You can hear your heart pounding in your ears, pounding against your temples like a warning drum. For the first time, Fergus strikes. The world turns into a tunnel. Your spear strikes Osric's shield. His spear pierces your breastplate. You feel it. Strong, but you stand firm. A second time. You raise your spear again. Osric closes his stance. This time you aim lower, just below the tip. His spear swings high, grazing your shoulder. Your spear hits. His hand shakes. He stays in position. A third time. Here it comes. You lower your visor. The cheers die down. You nod to Fergus. You say nothing. You just ride. And in that moment, everything slows down. Osric charges toward you like a storm. You hold your stance. You aim. Crack. The sound is like thunder. Osric's spear shatters. So does yours, but not before it hits him in the chest. His body staggers back, and then he flies into the air. He lands hard. The crowd gasps. For a moment, no one moves. Then Osric stirred, raised his hand. He was fine, but he was out. The messenger ran into the courtyard, waving his arms, his voice shaking with excitement. The winner, Sir Hawkhelm of the Silver Boar. You sat motionless for a moment, thinking. Fergus pawed the ground. The crowd began to cheer, louder this time. You slowly lifted your helmet, letting the cool breeze kiss your sweaty face. Your name was called out, not your house, not your title, you. Geoffrey appeared at the railing, raising both fists and shouting something you couldn't quite make out, but thought was a little inappropriate. You jumped off your horse, feeling both victorious and sore from the knee. Elric stopped you with a shiny shawl and immediately adjusted your cloak, as if victory was worthless without proper decoration. The Duke stands to address the crowd, his voice booming with the satisfaction of someone who has made a good bet. Courage, strength, and honor have won today, and now our champion will receive his reward. You are led to the podium. Your legs are shaking, not from nervousness, just from the trauma of 3 days of collision. Lady Celestria steps forward, holding a victory wreath. It is made of laurel, gold thread, and no doubt a few metaphors. She smiles genuinely this time and places it on your head. "Well done," she whispers. "I knew you wouldn't die." "Thank you for your confidence," she murmurs. She leans in closer, try not to faint. You almost faint. That evening, the tournament ends with a lavish banquet. You sit next to the Duke. Nobles toast your name. Bards try to write songs about your hawk's cap. One rhymes valor with cellar and is promptly ignored. You eat roasted pheasant, honeyed figs, and something called magnificent pudding that tastes like ambition and raisins. Across the hall, Osric raises his goblet to you. You return the favor. Mutual wounds have a way of forging respect. Historians still wonder what kept the tournaments going, why kings and commoners alike flocked to watch men in armor beat each other senseless for honor and medals. Some say it was ritual, others say it was politics, but many agree it was the story, the legend, the glimmer of glory, if only for a moment. And tonight, you are the story. The tournament is over. The dust is settled. The stands are half dismantled. The guards are loading armor into crates, muttering about lost buckles and who borrowed whetstones and didn't return them. Horses snort at the thought of finally going home. The smoke from the campfire curls lazily into the sky, no longer fervent with anticipation. And you sit beneath your banner, an old but proud silver beast, sipping wine and water from a clay cup. Fergus dozes nearby, clearly enjoying the quiet more than the drumming. Your limbs ache in places you didn't know had muscles. Your right pinky will probably never forgive you. But you're alive. You won. And it still feels surreal. People stop by your tent to congratulate you. Nobles, servants, kids with wooden swords and dreams much bigger than their shoulders. A tiny girl begs you to sign her shoe. You agree. Geoffrey walks over, holding 3 meat pies and a glass of wine that seems too extravagant to be true. "You're being knighted officially tomorrow," he says, his mouth still full of pastry. "Or today. Or 5 minutes ago. I don't know when. Time is an illusion." He plops down next to you, offering you a pie. You take it, grateful. It tastes like beef, glorious and slightly charred. "You know," he says, "this tournament thing, it's ridiculous." You nod. "And yet," he continues, waving his glass, "I've never felt more alive, or covered in bruises in the shape of someone else's badge." He raised his glass, because the nonsense makes life worth telling. You clinked your glass with his, careful not to drop it. Your wrist was still swollen. Then you found yourself summoned to the royal palace again. Lady Celestria was there, without her entourage this time. She looked different out of the spotlight, still regal, still sharp, but also curious. "I wanted to talk to you," she said simply. "No formalities." You nodded, suddenly aware that you still smelled of victory and unwashed linen. "I've been watching you," she continued. "Not just the finals, the whole tournament. You fought hard. You fought smart. And unlike some of the others," she raised an eyebrow, "you didn't try to flirt in the middle of it." You smiled, cautiously. "I'm gathering a family," she said. "People I can trust, advisors, knights, warriors who understand that honor doesn't mean charging blindly into windmills." She paused. "I want you to consider staying." That took you by surprise. Most champions returned home. They returned to their lands, displayed their trophies, told stories by the fire for years until no one remembered whether they had actually brought down Sir Osric or just stubbed his toe. But this was something else. A new chapter, a path you hadn't considered. "Think about it," she added. "But don't wait too long. I'm bad at waiting." With that, she walked away, leaving you alone under the stars, your cup now cold. Historians often describe tournaments as finales. A knight rides, fights, wins, and becomes a legend. But maybe, just maybe, they are also beginnings. Moments where fame meets opportunity, where wounds become bonds, where pomp becomes purpose. The next day, your formal knighthood takes place under the great oak tree behind the ducal hall. The duke holds a ceremonial sword heavy enough to anchor a ship. He pats each of you on the shoulder, mumbles something about courage and loyalty, and nearly drops the blade on your feet. Geoffrey stays behind, pretending to salute and sobbing for the play. You are given a scroll, a new cloak, and oddly enough a goose. It seems to be a tradition in the duchy. You name her Maud. That evening, the camp begins to break up. Tents are raised, wagons are loaded, the knights return to camp or began planning their next trip. Still, you stayed. You accepted Lady Celestria's offer. Because something in her voice told you that this wasn't just politics, it was the beginning of something different. A place where you could grow, not just as a warrior, but as a figure in something greater, an ideal, a court, a life. So you stayed. Fergus seemed pleased with the stables. Elric had finished sketching out a new crest. Geoffrey had decided to stay too. Of course, on the grounds that someone had to stop you from accidentally knocking down the granary door. Over the next weeks, you trained Toussaint, you counseled, you helped settle disputes over land, grain, and the exact number of feathers allowed on ceremonial helms. You rode patrols, you listened, you learned. And sometimes, late at night, you walk across the empty tourney grounds just to remember, to feel the echo of hooves and the thunder of applause. Not to reminisce, but to remind yourself that everything starts somewhere. And what about your story? It starts with a helmet, a horse, and a very questionable training exercise. But where the story goes, that's yet to be written. Time passes, but the bruises linger. Some fade into memory-faint aches that hum during rainy mornings. Others become stories, each with its own dramatic flair depending on the audience. Geoffrey insists his was a near-death encounter with a charging warlord, though everyone remembers it as him tripping over a chicken during the melee. You've now been part of Lady Celestria's retinue for several months. Her household is unlike any you've known. There's structure, yes, knighthood, duty, the usual, but there's also curiosity, debate, late-night discussions about whether dragons might have existed. Geoffrey swears they did, and what counts as justified rebellion in tax law. Your duties range widely. One day, you're negotiating a truce between feuding merchants over a pie recipe. The next, you're leading a patrol through the eastern woods to investigate strange hoofprints. It's never dull, and in some strange way, all your jousting experience has made you unusually good at dodging bureaucracy. One evening, you find yourself in the library, a vaulted, dust-scented place filled with tomes thicker than most helmets. Lady Celestria joins you, cloaked in shadow and candlelight. "Do you know," she says softly, "that there are over 200 documented tournament rules, and not a single one about how to lose gracefully?" You raise an eyebrow. "I'm familiar with the graceless kind." She smiles. "I know, I saw it in Sir Cedric's tantrum." You both laugh. Then she leans forward. There's talk of another tournament in Valamont. Different duchy, different politics, but the prize this time isn't gold, it's land, strategic land. You don't have to ask why she's telling you this. She wants to send someone, and you suspect that someone might ride with a silver beast crest and a horse named Fergus. "But," she continues, "we don't play their game the same way. If we go, it's not for glory, it's for position." You nod slowly. The idea of entering another tournament so soon fills you with both dread and something dangerously close to excitement. Later that night, you sit by the stables. Fergus nudges your shoulder, possibly looking for an apple, possibly offering quiet solidarity. You think back to your first day here, the training, the awkward armor fittings, the uncertainty. Now, everything feels more rooted. You know your place, and more importantly, you know you can survive it, even thrive in it. Still, doubt lingers. Historians still debate whether knights truly enjoyed these tournaments. Some argue it was duty, wrapped in ritual. Others believe they lived for the spectacle, for the applause, for the brief, shining moment when they were more than just men, they were symbols. You don't have a tidy answer. All you know is that when you step onto the field, something inside you sharpens, not the hunger for victory, but the clarity of purpose, the silence of fear giving way to focus. So you begin training again. Your armor is reforged lighter, more flexible. Fergus is fitted with new barding. Geoffrey finds a strange new form of motivation taunting you with terrible poems unless you win each sparring match. "Elric," he shouts one morning, "fetch the training helm and bring my sonnet about helmet dents." You groan. "I'll win. Just keep the poetry to yourself." "You wound me, sir." The days grow shorter. Autumn creeps in with crisp air and a sky that turns gold by late afternoon. The courtyard is filled once more with the sounds of practice swords clashing, shields ringing, and Fergus neighing every time someone misses a target. One evening, to brush him down, Lady Celestria stops by. "Leaving soon," she says. "Valamont will be watching." You nod. "And what should I be?" Her eyes meet yours, unpredictable. It's not quite advice, but somehow, it's exactly what you needed to hear. As you pack for the journey, you find the ribbon she gave you at the first tournament. You tie it to your saddle. Not for luck, not even for memory, but as a quiet reminder of where this all began. Not with victory, but with the decision to show up. The road to Valamont is long, winding, and uphill inexplicably in both directions. You travel with a small escort, Geoffrey, 2 newly knighted knights from House Celestria, and a cart loaded with armor that seems to double in weight with every mile. Fergus takes it all in stride, flicking his tail at flies and occasionally glancing at the squirrels as if they owe him money. Valamont is different. It is richer. The stonework is newer. The banners cleaner. The arena built more like a theater than a battlefield. The crowds here wear silk. Even pickpockets are standard fare. You arrive without fanfare, but word spreads quickly. People remember your name, your helmet, your victory over Lord Osric. They speak of you in hushed tones, awed and curious, and suspicious. You are Lady Celestria's knight, after all, and she is not well liked here. Yet the tournament continues. The opening ceremony is a whirlwind of noise and pomp. This time, you enter in lighter armor, bearing a newly forged crest, a variation of your old beast, now paired with the star of House Celestria, a political statement, subtle and sharp. You recognize familiar faces in the lineup, some from your previous tournament. Some are clearly assessing you. Sir Emery, a tactician disguised as a country bumpkin. Lady Isolde, who once took down 3 men in a single afternoon and wrote a haiku about it. And because life loves its jokes, Sir Osric. He nods slowly. You return the gesture. Mutual injury creates unexpected bridges. The events begin. Archery, jousting, footwork. This time, you are not the underdog. You are the standard. And that changes everything. People look at you differently. Opponents fight harder. Guards gossip. One opponent tries to scare you with pre-match taunts. Hopefully you bring more than luck this time. You reply, "Just Fergus." And Fergus chooses that moment to dramatically let loose. The crowd cheers. You win the match in just 3 turns. Geoffrey becomes your unofficial spokesman, recounting your past exploits in increasingly fantastic terms. Did I mention he once had a spear in his tooth? No one corrects him. But beneath the glitz, the challenges are real. This is more than sport. It is diplomacy and chainmail. Celestria's influence is at stake. A strong performance from you might sway the Duke of Valamont, maybe even open an alliance. And you feel the weight of it. One night, as you oil your gloves, Lady Celestria sends word. She arrives quietly, in disguise. The 2 of you meet in a small garden near the kitchen, the smell of roasting onions heavy in the air. "You're fine," she says. You shrug. "Just a few bruises, lucky." She tilts her head, and some very careful footwork in the match against Emery. You smile. Then she turns serious. "Tomorrow is the final match, against Isolde." You nod. Lady Isolde is quick, precise. She once shattered a man's helmet with a single swing. Facing her is like playing chess in an avalanche. She respects you, Celestria says. That may be your only advantage. Sleep comes slowly that night. You wake early, watching the mist clear from the training grounds. Geoffrey snores in the next tent. Fergus eats his oatmeal with the serenity of a monk. The final match has arrived. The audience is large. The stands are packed. The Duke of Valamont sits under a green canopy, flanked by his advisors with too many feathers. You and Isolde greet each other silently. No need for drama. She's here to win. So are you. 3 times. The first time is a blur, both spears snap, neither falls. The second time she slashes at your shoulder. You stagger, but stay seated. The third time you aim low, she raises it high. Time slows down. Crack! Your spear hits first, pinpoint. She staggers, her horse wobbles. And then miraculously she stays standing. But the judges declare it victory by a margin of points. She dismounts first, walks toward you. You brace yourself. Instead, she holds out her hand. Good riding, she says. One day I'll get that ribbon back. You grin, look forward to it. The crowd erupts. The Duke stands. Celestria stands behind him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Then, after too many congratulations and a suspicious roast swan, she approaches. You did it, she says. You start to thank her, but she stops you. No, you didn't win because of me. You won because you belong here, among people who don't just fight, who know what it means to fight. See. She turns to leave, then stops. Go rest, she says. The world is watching, and tomorrow we fight again. The arena is empty now. The cheers have died down, replaced by the gentle rustle of wind through abandoned flags. The torches have gone out, the dust has settled, and somewhere in the stables, Fergus is snoring deep, content and strangely musical. You sit under the stars, your fingers brushing the edges of your gloves, the metal still warm from the day. The night is gentle now, like a soft blanket over the world. No more noise, no more burden, just breathing, just silence. You have survived every challenge, every duel, every moment of doubt, and now there is nothing left to prove. Just silence, just peace. You close your eyes and let the night carry you away, not into dreams of glory or fluttering banners, but into soft fields, the steady thump of horses' hooves, and the rhythm of a world breathing out. There is no need to be brave now. There is no need to win anything. You have done enough. So take a deep breath. Let your armor fall away, piece by piece, until it is just you, calm, warm, and at rest. The world can wait until morning. You are safe here. You are home. The road to Valemount is long, winding, and uphill inexplicably in both directions. You travel with a small escort, Geoffrey, 2 newly knighted knights from House Celestria, and a cart loaded with armor that seems to double in weight with every mile. Fergus takes it all in stride, flicking his tail at flies and occasionally glancing at the squirrels as if they owe him money. Valemount is different. It is richer. The stonework is newer, the banners cleaner, the arena built more like a theater than a battlefield. The crowds here wear silk. Even pickpockets are standard fare. You arrive without fanfare, but word spreads quickly. People remember your name, your helmet, your victory over Lord Osric. They speak of you in hushed tones, awed and curious, and suspicious. You are Lady Celestria's knight, after all, and she is not well liked here. Yet the tournament continues. The opening ceremony is a whirlwind of noise and pomp. This time, you enter in lighter armor, bearing a newly forged crest, a variation of your old beast, now paired with the star of House Celestria, a political statement, subtle and sharp. You recognize familiar faces in the lineup, some from your previous tournament. Some are clearly assessing you. Sir Emery, a tactician disguised as a country bumpkin. Lady Isolde, who once took down 3 men in a single afternoon and wrote a haiku about it. And because life loves its jokes, Sir Osric. He nods slowly. You return the gesture. Mutual injury creates unexpected bridges. The events begin. Archery, jousting, footwork. This time, you are not the underdog. You are the standard. And that changes everything. People look at you differently. Opponents fight harder. Guards gossip. One opponent tries to scare you with pre-match taunts. Hopefully you bring more than luck this time. You reply, just Fergus. And Fergus chooses that moment to dramatically let loose. The crowd cheers. You win the match in just 3 turns. Geoffrey becomes your unofficial spokesman, recounting your past exploits in increasingly fantastic terms. Did I mention he once had a spear in his tooth? No one corrects him. But beneath the glitz, the challenges are real. This is more than sport. It is diplomacy and chainmail. Celestria's influence is at stake. A strong performance from you might sway the Duke of Valamont, maybe even open an alliance. And you feel the weight of it. One night, as you oil your gloves, Lady Celestria sends word. She arrives quietly, in disguise. The two of you meet in a small garden near the kitchen, the smell of roasting onions heavy in the air. "You're fine," she says. You shrug, "Just a few bruises, lucky." She tilts her head, and some very careful footwork in the match against Emery. You smile. Then she turns serious. "Tomorrow is the final match, against Isolde." You nod. Lady Isolde is quick, precise. She once shattered a man's helmet with a single swing. Facing her is like playing chess in an avalanche. "She respects you," Celestria says. "That may be your only advantage." Sleep comes slowly that night. You wake early, watching the mist clear from the training grounds. Geoffrey snores in the next tent. Fergus eats his oatmeal with the serenity of a monk. The final match has arrived. The audience is large. The stands are packed. The Duke of Valamont sits under a green canopy, flanked by his advisors with too many feathers. You and Isolde greet each other silently. No need for drama. She's here to win. So are you. 3 times. The first time is a blur. Both spears snap. Neither falls. The second time she slashes at your shoulder. You stagger, but stay seated. The third time you aim low, she raises it high. Time slows down. Crack! Your spear hits first. Pinpoint. She staggers. Her horse wobbles. And then miraculously she stays standing. But the judges declare it victory by a margin of points. She dismounts first, walks toward you. You brace yourself. Instead, she holds out her hand. "Good riding," she says. "One day I'll get that ribbon back." You grin, look forward to it. The crowd erupts. The Duke stands. Celestria stands behind him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Then, after too many congratulations and a suspicious roast swan, she approaches. "You did it," she says. You start to thank her, but she stops you. "No, you didn't win because of me. You won because you belong here, among people who don't just fight, who know what it means to fight." See. She turns to leave, then stops. "Go rest," she says. "The world is watching, and tomorrow we fight again." The arena is empty now. The cheers have died down, replaced by the gentle rustle of wind through abandoned flags. The torches have gone out, the dust has settled, and somewhere in the stables, Fergus is snoring deep, content and strangely musical. You sit under the stars, your fingers brushing the edges of your gloves, the metal still warm from the day. The night is gentle now, like a soft blanket over the world. No more noise, no more burden, just breathing, just silence. You have survived every challenge, every duel, every moment of doubt, and now there is nothing left to prove. Just silence, just peace. You close your eyes and let the night carry you away, not into dreams of glory or fluttering banners, but into soft fields, the steady thump of horses' hooves, and the rhythm of a world breathing out. There is no need to be brave now. There is no need to win anything. You have done enough. So take a deep breath. Let your armor fall away, piece by piece, until it is just you, calm, warm, and at rest. The world can wait until morning. You are safe here. You are home. The road to Valamont is long, winding, and uphill inexplicably in both directions. You travel with a small escort, Geoffrey, 2 newly knighted knights from House Celestria, and a cart loaded with armor that seems to double in weight with every mile. Fergus takes it all in stride, flicking his tail at flies and occasionally glancing at the squirrels as if they owe him money. Valamont is different. It is richer. The stonework is newer. The banners cleaner. The arena built more like a theater than a battlefield. The crowds here wear silk. Even pickpockets are standard fare. You arrive without fanfare, but word spreads quickly. People remember your name, your helmet, your victory over Lord Osric. They speak of you in hushed tones, awed and curious, and suspicious. You are Lady Celestria's knight, after all, and she is not well liked here. Yet the tournament continues. The opening ceremony is a whirlwind of noise and pomp. This time, you enter in lighter armor, bearing a newly forged crest, a variation of your old beast, now paired with the star of House Celestria, a political statement, subtle and sharp. You recognize familiar faces in the lineup, some from your previous tournament. Some are clearly assessing you. Sir Emery, a tactician disguised as a country bumpkin. Lady Isolde, who once took down 3 men in a single afternoon and wrote a haiku about it. And because life loves its jokes, Sir Osric. He nods slowly. You return the gesture. Mutual injury creates unexpected bridges. The events begin. Archery, jousting, footwork. This time, you are not the underdog. You are the standard. And that changes everything. People look at you differently. Opponents fight harder. Guards gossip. One opponent tries to scare you with pre-match taunts. Hopefully you bring more than luck this time. You reply, just Fergus. And Fergus chooses that moment to dramatically let loose. The crowd cheers. You win the match in just 3 turns. Geoffrey becomes your unofficial spokesman, recounting your past exploits in increasingly fantastic terms. Did I mention he once had a spear in his tooth? No one corrects him. But beneath the glitz, the challenges are real. This is more than sport. It is diplomacy and chainmail. Celestria's influence is at stake. A strong performance from you might sway the Duke of Valemount, maybe even open an alliance. And you feel the weight of it. One night, as you oil your gloves, Lady Celestria sends word. She arrives quietly, in disguise. The two of you meet in a small garden near the kitchen, the smell of roasting onions heavy in the air. You're fine, she says. You shrug, just a few bruises, lucky. She tilts her head, and some very careful footwork in the match against Emery. You smile. Then she turns serious. Tomorrow is the final match, against Isolde. You nod. Lady Isolde is quick, precise. She once shattered a man's helmet with a single swing. Facing her is like playing chess in an avalanche. She respects you, Celestria says. That may be your only advantage. Sleep comes slowly that night. You wake early, watching the mist clear from the training grounds. Geoffrey snores in the next tent. Fergus eats his oatmeal with the serenity of a monk. The final match has arrived. The audience is large. The stands are packed. The Duke of Valemount sits under a green canopy, flanked by his advisors with too many feathers. You and Isolde greet each other silently. No need for drama. She's here to win. So are you. 3 times. The first time is a blur. Both spears snap. Neither falls. The second time she slashes at your shoulder. You stagger, but stay seated. The third time you aim low, she raises it high. Time slows down. Crack! Your spear hits first. Pinpoint. She staggers. Her horse wobbles. And then miraculously she stays standing. But the judges declare it victory by a margin of points. She dismounts first, walks toward you. You brace yourself. Instead, she holds out her hand. Good riding, she says. One day I'll get that ribbon back. You grin, look forward to it. The crowd erupts. The Duke stands. Celestria stands behind him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Then, after too many congratulations and a suspicious roast swan, she approaches. You did it, she says. You start to thank her, but she stops you. No, you didn't win because of me. You won because you belong here, among people who don't just fight, who know what it means to fight. She turns to leave, then stops. Go rest, she says. The world is watching, and tomorrow we fight again. The arena is empty now. The cheers have died down, replaced by the gentle rustle of wind through abandoned flags. The torches have gone out, the dust has settled, and somewhere in the stables, Fergus is snoring deep, content and strangely musical. You sit under the stars, your fingers brushing the edges of your gloves, the metal still warm from the day. The night is gentle now, like a soft blanket over the world. No more noise, no more burden, just breathing, just silence. You have survived every challenge, every duel, every moment of doubt, and now there is nothing left to prove. Just silence, just peace. You close your eyes and let the night carry you away, not into dreams of glory or fluttering banners, but into soft fields, the steady thump of horses' hooves, and the rhythm of a world breathing out. There is no need to be brave now. There is no need to win anything. You have done enough. So take a deep breath. Let your armor fall away, piece by piece, until it is just you, calm, warm, and at rest. The world can wait until morning. You are safe here. You are home.